Oh, cool. Welcome back, everybody, to this week's installment of the Entrepreneurship and Career Series. This week, we have with us Mr. Sonalli Andrews, and he is here to tell us about his job as graphic designer. Hello, Mr. Andrews. What's up?
Hi, good day and good afternoon to everyone watching and tuned in.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself, um, where do I start? Well,
Where did you go to school?
I'm 29 years old. I've been doing graphic design since I was 17 years professionally. My first job, I was working while I was studying at Abbott, actually. So while I was doing my degree, I was already in the field itself. Um, I was already thinking about my concept of coming up with my business, and began to actualize it around the age of 18 or 19. So I started to sketch out my ideas then. But the business actually got registered and official in 2016 when I started to accumulate some monies on my own because I started to really take the freelancing seriously by then. I became an entrepreneur at the age of 20, 22, going in 23. And from there, I never looked back. It's a challenging experience. It's not for the weak of heart, I would say. But everything has its ups and downs, and it's not a decision that I regret. But I would encourage others like myself who are thinking of going the route of an entrepreneur to try it.
Okay. So, what school would you have gone to before you went to Abbott?
Before then, my associates, I went to Clay Hall Secondary School, and before that, I went to Seaview Farm Primary School, and before that, I went to St. Peter's Primary.
Okay, cool. So, what kind of subjects did you take? I mean, did you always know this is what you wanted to do, so you aligned your subjects from early on?
No, I didn't know that I wanted to be a graphic designer. I just always had a propensity for drawing, and it's something that my family members and friends recognize at an early age. I just had a knack for it, but um, I didn't know that I was going to choose the subjects that align. But I did do art, and I excelled at it. And I think I actually set a record at Playhouse School for the highest marks in like a decade. So
Wow.
if you check my background for that, I have some of the highest marks for art being it's usually at 95% for everything, 95 to 100. I never really dropped below that.
Wow.
And for physics as well.
Wow.
Um,
Physics.
yeah, because I tend to merge different aspects of life with my career, and I think that really shapes and polishes you as a graphic designer. Because the more knowledge you have at your disposal, the better you are at executing what you need to. Because you're never doing or designing the same thing, so there's no such thing as wasted knowledge, as I would put it. So some of my favorite subjects would have been art, number one, English, A. I really love English and love my English teacher as well. I Miss Davis if you're watching. Um, so with art, English, I really love integrated science, social studies. Um, I said physics already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the other one? I did building tech, so I did some woodwork. I enjoy that as well.
Mm.
Um, I really can't remember the others because it was quite a few, but I
Mm.
don't think that was really a subject that I didn't enjoy. But art and English would be at the top for me, and I loved PE. Yeah,
I think everybody kind of enjoyed PE though.
some people not so much, but I really enjoyed it. Mm.
Okay, cool. But so what do you do exactly as a graphics designer? What medium do you find yourself working in?
Okay. Well, the graphic designers are usually heavily dependent on computers and devices that require some sort of input. I have with me but I do use traditional mediums as well before I put anything into the computer. So
Mm,
I have with me, this is my money maker. It's a
ooh,
16-inch mobile studio pro. It's a tablet and a
mm,
computer all in one.
mm,
USB-C, i7 processor, 3.1 or 2 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM. It's touch screen as well. It also has a 3D camera built in,
mm,
and I use Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. I use a little bit of After Effects and Premiere Pro. I
mm,
use InDesign. The others, I use Adobe Flash as well for web animation. So like the stuff you would see when you go and visit Amazon and you see like clothes fly in and fly out and the sale price pop out at you. I do those stuff as well.
mm.
Um, I utilize a stylus. So this is how I input my drawing when I'm drawing on the screen itself or designing or creating images or content. And so that's it for the digital stuff. And for the traditional items, because I never stopped drawing, I have my pencil case like a regular student, but very expensive items in here as well. A tablet like that, if anybody's interested in purchasing one, is about 10,000 EC.
Wow. Don't
Yeah.
drop it.
I haven't dropped it, it's about 2 years old now. Stedler mechanical pencil.
That's a lot of
Uh,
tape.
yeah, and the tape
Is
is
that for making a
purpose.
better grip?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
make it fit ergonomically in my hand when I'm drawing because as artists we actually have several different grips when you're drawing professionally, but
Mm,
the
mm,
the average person only knows of one of the tripod, but there are other grips as well that you can utilize when using the pencil. Have my needed
mm,
eraser,
mm.
um, I have my carbon pencil, Faber Castle. This pencil is about 10 US.
Wow. For one
And
pencil?
yes, for one pencil,
Wow.
I have with me a Fudenosuke brush pen. This is hard, and I have a soft as well in here. And I have 6B, which some of you would know if you're listening. I have a blending stump, and
What's a blending stump?
the blending stump replaces what you would normally use tissue to smudge
Ah,
or smear the
ah,
graphite onto the paper, and there are different sizes to blend that as well. Um, and I have some micron pens, but I can't reach those right now. And that's about it. Those are my go-to for me for traditional stuff before I put anything into the computer and final render them. Oh, and I almost forgot. This is my drawing glove for when I'm interacting with the graphics tablet. So I put this on like this. So this prevents the moisture
from your
from
hand on the screen.
the screen, so I don't have to clean out the screen all the time, and it also enhances the glide so that I'm able to fluidly draw on top of the screen. It also looks cool.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, this seems like a very expensive endeavor to get into. How did you break into this particular field? Because I mean, pencils aren't cheap. I know. I have a godson who likes to draw, and I know his stuff ain't cheap
All right.
every time something comes up. So, I mean, how does that affect your ability to price your things and keep competitive in a local market?
Okay. When I started out, um, I had to build my way up. So I didn't start off with the most expensive things first. What I realized
Mm,
as I started to get better and better in my profession, I
mm,
needed tools that were longer lasting, sustainable, so to speak, because
mm,
of course they're cheaper and versus the top tier brands that would last longer, produce a higher quality. And there's a big difference, and I started to recognize the difference, and that's what separated me as a professional from the average person that was doing similar work to me. And so I invested in that in order to distinguish myself from the pack. It helped to make my work distinguished, and I would suggest to anybody taking anything seriously, you buy the tools that also inspire you to work. Because the other reason I purchased them at such a cost, even though it hurts my wallet and my heart sometimes, is that when you get up to actually work, they actually put you in the mood to work because you know that you're using the best of the best. So therefore, and you're already talented. So it's, double encouragement for you to produce the work. So there's nothing discouraging you while you're doing your work. You're not saying, man, if I had this computer, I'd be able to do this. Or if I had that pencil, I'd be able to draw like this. But then you have the
But you
tools
don't.
now. Yeah, so you just go forward with it. I'll share a story. When I was about 5 years old, I was going to church with my teacher in grade kindergarten school. When I was in church, I used to smell when she sharpened a particular pencil. I didn't know what brand it was. And every time she gave me that pencil, I after the smell, I was always in the mood to draw. And she's in St. Vincent right now, but you know, so we're out of touch. But as I got older and you start to recognize the smells again, you realize, okay, that's what the smell was. And I realized it was a Faber-Castell soft pencil, right? So that particular pencil was for professionals. I didn't know if she knew that, but she was giving me a professional pencil to use. And the pencil, the grade of the wood and the graphite was different than a normal pencil. So whenever you hold it, it was much lighter. The graphite was softer. Also, the pencil point didn't break when you sharpen it with a point, because sometimes when you sharpen a pencil and then you press down lightly, the point immediately breaks off. No, that pencil will just wear down like wax, so your strokes will be very smooth. So that also kind of encourage you to draw more. And as I got older, I realized, wow, it was a Faber-Castell pencil. So that's why I have a Faber-Castell pencil there with me as well, because it also puts me in a work frame of mind that can produce something properly. Yeah.
Okay. So what does an average job look like for you?
Average job. Hmm. Well, I get a lot of logo design, and that's because when I had started off, when I was working for a company back in the day, 17, 18, 19, and 20, a lot of logo designs would come up because, as we know, as time passes, new businesses are going to constantly emerge. So somebody always has a brand, and that's what I was doing heavily. So I actually have a knack for doing logo designs as well, and I do enjoy it. So I know an average job would be a logo. Somebody would come to me and they say, okay, starting a new company, and this is the idea I have. I was thinking of a bird, for example, and I want the wings to be spread out. I want the feathers to look a certain way, or whatever the case was. And I like blue, I like purple, or whatever the case was. And as they're talking to me, the difference between me and other designers is that when I'm having a meeting with the person, I would more than 90% of the times be sketching with my regular drawing pad or be drawing on the screen. I don't know if you know about the guys that crossed the Atlantic before the women did.
The
Before we
Atlantic Rose, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Fuller and the three other guys.
And the
Yeah, that the logo was the frigate bird, the blue frigate bird that was pointed into the direction that they were traveling, coming back to Antigua, I believe, to the Atlantic. And I came up with the concept right in front of them, and it was approved before I finalized it the same day.
wow.
So that's what an average day for me is like sometimes. One, I
How
could,
long do you think it takes to complete like a particular job?
um, for me, sometimes I would say the normal timing for a logo job would be 3 to 4 days. But depending on my mood, how much the client is paying, um, how much time I have, and location as well would also determine how fast I turn around. But I think the fastest I've came up with a logo was within an hour and finished it within the same hour and approved, signed off, money sent to my account, and that was
Wow.
it. Yeah, there was an instance where I had to edit a logo, and I was pulling out of a space. I was between two cars. The client called me and said, "Hey, we're about to go into the presentation right now, but we need a color change to blue right now. It's red." And so I had to parallel park and reverse, go back in there, turn on my hotspot on my phone so I can get some internet, boot up my tablet that you see, and then change the colors, send it off to the client for the approval, got the email that the
Wow.
logo was approved, and then I, collected my 3,000 whenever, I told them the invoice was due. It
Wow.
can be simple and fast like that sometimes. Yeah.
But you say it depends on the location, so you don't have a fixed location for your business.
I don't. And that goes back to one of the things I enjoy the most about being an entrepreneur or just being me in general is that I don't like being in one place all the time because it bores me. I don't like being behind a desk all the time,
Mm,
especially for 24 hours because I don't work the typical hours that normal people work, the 9 to 5. I work around the
mm,
clock. So sometimes when person's at work, I might be sleeping to recovering. And because I can change location, it also puts me in a mood to really enjoy the work. There are sometimes I might go to the beach and park and turn the windows down so I can get the breeze from the seashore and just work and relax at the same time, kick back.
I
Yeah,
envy you.
yeah. Without anybody
Yeah.
breathing over your
I,
shoulder, asking you, how soon you gonna finish.
mm.
You going to lunch yet? You want lunch ready? Think you should take lunch now. Or came back from lunch late. Is that work too? You see? So I thoroughly enjoy working for myself.
Okay. So what's your favorite thing about being an entrepreneur and your field that you've chosen?
Um, one of there are many, but I would say one of my top favorite things is that I control how much I want to be paid. So I don't have a fixed pay at the end of the month, but I have to work very hard for that figure that I want. So I can navigate how much I want to make, and I'll just have to put in the work to meet certain figures. So I'll say that's one of my top favorite things about being an entrepreneur.
Okay. What's your least favorite thing now?
My least favorite thing would be that transition when first meeting the client and you're discussing their budget and how much you charge and
Mm,
having the back and forth with, okay, I have a cousin that could do it for this price. Or I really dislike that portion because they come to you because they have seen the quality or heard of the quality of your work and they approach you
mm,
and they say to you that, oh, you're the person I want to work on this project. And then when it comes to
mhm.
the money aspect of it, suddenly they have a cousin that could do it in PowerPoint or Publisher. So it's
I,
like
I know how that goes.
that's my least
I
favorite part. Discussing the money, they move from 4 steps forward to 10 steps back when they hear the money part come up and they're trying to find a way to bring down your pricing because they can't validate it. They don't see the value for it. They don't see why you're charging this much.
Yeah,
And
because in their mind it's just a drawing.
in their mind, it's just a drawing and it's magic. And there's a magic button on your keyboard that you press. And it's probably just create something out of nothing. They don't factor in that you have to do hours of research, hours of concept, the tools that you have to use to do it, your electricity, the fact that you need to eat so that you have the nutrients to produce the work. They're not factoring all of this. So the money aspect, when they're choosing if they're gonna go forward or not, is my least favorite.
Wow. I can imagine how difficult that is because as a person who is somewhat artistic, I tend to do crafts. Persons are always like, "Can you make this?" And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, sure, I can
yeah,
I can make that for you." how much is it gonna cost? And then you tell them
Yeah,
the cost, and they try to bid you down like your time isn't worth anything.
right.
It's like, I could buy it. I'm like,
If I
well,
was to
buy
really
it.
charge, if I properly calculate and factor in how much my device costs, which I mentioned the price, it's a $10,000 tablet. Then you have to buy external hard drive, storage, all of that. The images we use as graphic designers, if you're a professional, we purchase those images online. We have to buy the rights from photographers who went out and did the work, because you can't just,
Mm,
of course you can use people work for free because there's free content available, but it might not match up with what the person is wanting. So you, of course, you have to
mm,
purchase the content to match up with what they want to deliver something professional. So they're not factoring in, you have to pay for the images, you have to pay for vectors, you have to pay for videos, you have to pay for symbols and components to construct content. Then the time in which you
and the
spend
software.
the software, which you have to buy the license, all of that stuff. You're not factoring in that.
But have you ever considered actually having like a physical store? Because I mean, while I recognize you have an online store, tell us
Mhm.
your web address again.
The the online store would be Redbubble slash Sonalli. And
Right.
my business page for my Facebook is Red Ninja Graphics. Same handle on my Instagram for the commercial graphic design. But if you want to see more illustrated stuff, because I'm also an illustrator separate from my graphic design, but they're two different things. Sonalli.
What's the difference?
The difference would be graphic design being the combination of images and text to communicate a message, whereas
Hmm.
graphic illustration is primarily the use of images.
Mm.
So it might
So
be,
like for
you might
books and
put down
stuff
little
like that.
drawings like manga, anime,
Mm.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's not necessarily okay. Buy a free phone and get the third one free or something like that. That would be more graphic
Mm.
design. But then the
Mm.
illustrated stuff would be a portrait of a person, two different color eyes, and then you maybe see a peacock tail behind them. That's more illustrative because there's no text going along with it. It's just artistic and stylized content.
Do you teach also?
Yes,
Because I imagine there are many people who would love to learn.
I do teach. I actually just wrapped up a logo design course yesterday for a promotion I'm putting on, which is a boot camp. So I'm training persons who are interested to design logos to be able to professionally sell them and make a secondary income in addition to their 9 to 5. Or even if you don't have a 9 to 5, it's an essential skill that I think a lot of persons could capitalize on, especially in this pandemic. Yeah, so I
Right,
do.
because you don't physically have to be there,
You don't
which is
physically
great.
have to be there, but that's the setup right now. I'm actually planning for it to sometime go online, but because everyone doesn't have the same internet connection, it might
Mm.
pose some problems for me as the instructor. So currently, the location for the classes is at the public library from Tuesdays to Fridays, 5:30 to 6:30 in the evenings, and the cost is only 500 EC.
Okay, so they register at the library?
Yes, they can register at the library. If you want to
Okay.
contact me, it's 786-6002. That's also my WhatsApp number as well. So you can message me, let me know you're interested. I will send you the link for you to sign up online. So the next class is coming up is from December
Mm.
8th to the 18th.
Okay, so give me that number again slowly.
786
Mm-hmm.
6002.
All right. Nice. Thanks. Okay. It sounds like fun. And I mean, I can imagine that somebody saying, "Oh Lord, that sounds expensive." But I mean, nothing in this world is actually free. And if you really want
Nothing
to be able to master something, you should be willing to
to
spend on your
invest.
craft.
Yeah,
So,
you have to invest.
right.
So if you want to make money, you have to spend money to make money. If you're gonna be continue using cheap products, you're gonna remain on a cheap level, and that's not what I aspire for. That's not what I aspire for any of my students or professionals that surround me to be involved with, I expect a high level of output.
So what's next for you in terms of your career? Where do you plan to take this particular job?
For me, it would be to expand on my drawing ability, because I actually have more experience as a graphic designer. I was thrown into the fire at an early age, from since I was 17, and because of the amount of time it took up, going to work and you come home tired, you don't have that much time for yourself to actually draw. But I'm not saying that the skill has gotten cold, but just as my graphic design skill has developed, I think it has kind of surpassed my drawing ability. I mean, I know a lot of people know that I draw very well, but I'm not satisfied right now with the level that I'm at, and I want to take it further. I want to inspire others as well who used to draw to pick back up the pencil and start drawing and expressing themselves. It's also very therapeutic. It does help with stress. In these times you need a distraction, so you pick back up the pencil. But so I want to expand on my drawing abilities. I want to do more manga, comic book stuff. I want to tell stories, maybe about my personal life, maybe about someone. So to the level of Marvel, I would say, or Pixar, or Santa Monica, or Riot, or Blizzard Studio, possibly working with some of these studios in the near future to produce and work alongside video game developers. So I think the next step for me is video game and comic stuff.
Well, I can tell you, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But
Thank you.
what would you say to that young person who is not quite sure of this skill? They're just beginning to think, this may be something that I could do. What advice would you give to them?
Um, if you realize that this is something that stimulates you when you're doing it, I think you should try to find more of it, because it can be like a drug in a good sense, and you need to stimulate it as much as possible, because there are a lot of people who had the aptitude to draw, and somewhere along the line they just stopped because somebody discouraged them or told them that, okay, you're wasting your time, you're gonna grow up to be a starving artist that don't make no money, you should be an architect. Those are all things that I've heard growing up. So I would say try to stuff as much information of the things that you like and enjoy into your brain. Expand your visual vocabulary, expose yourself to different mediums, see how other people are going about doing certain styles. Maybe try to copy that person's style and then revise it to
Make
make
it
your
your
original style from it. Read books that don't even associate with art. Try to understand people's way of thinking, why they go about this, because even as an artist, you still have to know how to carry yourself as a businessman. You have to carry yourself as a person with pride, somebody who loves what they do and believes that you're important, and there are persons in this world who have a need for you. So you have to recognize that you are also special and that you are needed. So you keep working on your craft, stick to it. It might sound crazy. People might tell you, oh, you're wasting your time. Stick to it. You might have to work diligently in silence. Just continue working on your craft and shaping it. Somebody out there needs what you're doing. You are a specific flavor that nobody else can replace. So that's why I would say stick to it.
All right. Thank you very much, Sonalli, for coming in and talking to us today. We really enjoyed this conversation. For those of you who are interested in reaching Sonalli, check the link below the video. And thank you yet again for coming in. It was wonderful having you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me as well.
Okay. Next week, we'll be having Mr. Dave Bridgewater with us, and he's going to be sharing a bit with us about what he does best. So until next week, bye, everybody.